Hello everyone, this is Satreya and welcome to our channel CodeChef. Today we're going to be solving the problem Shibby Gods with a difficulty level of Cakewalk. There are no such prerequisites to solve this problem, so let's get started. Here is written that Shibby God judges the efficiency of his Death Note as the average number of people he can kill per page. His Shinigami Siddhant has already written a number of names. However, he was very uneven in how he used the Death Note. Now Shibby wants to use some of the end pages of the Death Note on the first day such that he has the maximum efficiency. In formal language, we are given an array of length n and we need to find out the maximum average of the numbers of any contiguous subarray with the condition that the subarray we are looking at has its length between a and b inclusive. So basically, we have many subarrays of our given array, and as long as that subarray we are looking at has the length between a and b, we need to find out the maximum average of all such subarrays having length between. So basically what this translates is find the maximum average of the numbers over all subarrays of the given array having length between a and b. This is both inclusive. Hope this part is clear. Let's look at a few sample cases. Here we are given n, we are given b, and we are given a. And we need to look at all the subarrays having the length between 2 and 3. Before that, a question to you is, can you enumerate all the given subarrays of this given array here? This array has 5 elements. Can you enumerate the subarrays? Pause the video for a second and then compare with what I've written here. So what I've written here are all the subarrays of the given array. Here I've written the indices. Here 0, 0 means both are inclusive here. So 0 to 0 we have only one element with the value 1. If I write 0, 1, it means I'm going at the 0th index and stopping at the first index. 1, 2 is here. If I look at 2, 3, 4, which is 1, 3, it means that I start at the first index and I go forward till I reach the third index. So 2, 3, 4 will be here. If I look at a random example 2, 4, 2, 4 means I start at the second index and go till I reach the fourth index. I mean, that was, sorry, 2, 4, right? So 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5 will be my output here. Again, for this particular test case, let me just write again. These are the indices. Let me write it neatly. These are the indices. And I'm looking at the index 2 to 4 means I start at the index 2 until I reach the index 4. So the values are 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. If I look at this example, which is 3, 4, I start at the third index until I reach the fourth index. So 3, 4. The values corresponding to that are 4, 5 here. If I look at another example, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 0, 3, I start at the 0th index till I reach the third index. All the elements included in my subarray. So start at the 0th index, go till the third index. 1, 2, 3, 4 will be my output here. So here, all the subarrays are 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4, and 4, 4. If I want to use the index notation where I, j both are inclusive here. And I can be a special case of a subarray having just one element. So these subarrays are those subarrays having just one element. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, and 3, 3 are special cases of this ij, both inclusive, because I and j both are same. Basically, I, or j, both are inclusive, both are same, so only one element. If I want to find out in this notation, this is the general notation of every subarray can be described by two integers, I, j, both inclusive. Now, if I want to find out the length of a particular subarray described by these two integers, I, j, both inclusive, what will it be? The length of this subarray is nothing but j minus I plus 1. How? The three elements are here. This subarray is denoted by 1, 3. So the length of this subarray is 3 minus 1 plus 1, which is nothing but 3. If I want the subarray length here, what is the length of this subarray? We can look at it and say 4. But the length of the subarray, I, j, is 4 minus 1 plus 1, that is 4. Now if I want the length of this subarray, which is 2, 3, denoted by 2, 3. 3 minus 2 plus 1 is nothing but 2. If I want the length of this subarray, it's 4 minus 4 plus 1, that is 1. If I want the length of this subarray, it is 4 minus 0 plus 1, which is 5. So hope this part is very important. So the length of a subarray denoted by two integers I, j, where you start at the ith index and end at the jth index and take all the elements corresponding in that range, both inclusive, the length of that subarray will be j minus I plus 1. Now a question to you is, how many subarrays are there if the array size is n? If the array size is n, now basically how many is in this column, how many subarrays are there? 1 subarray, 2 subarray, 3 subarray, 4, 5. 5. In this column, how many subarrays are there? 4. In this column, how many subarrays are there? 3. In this column, how many subarrays are there? 2. In this column, how many subarrays are there? 1. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 basically corresponds to 1 plus 2 till n is nothing but n into n plus 1 by 2. So in this particular case, you have 5 into 6 by 2, which is nothing but 15 subarrays possible here. If you don't believe me, you can just count. 5 plus 4, 9, 9 plus 3, 12, 12 plus 2, 14, 14 plus 1, 15. 15 subarrays are corresponding here. So what we are going to do is, we are going to look at all the subarrays whose length is between A and B. In this particular case, the length between A and B, if we want to look at, what is A? A is 2 and B is 3. So the length of our subarray should be between 2 and 3. Length of our subarray should be between 2 and 3. So if you look at this, this is not even in our consideration because this subarray length is 1. So all these 1 and subarrays we won't even consider. Leave it. Okay, we won't consider this. Our subarray length should be between 2 and 3 for us to consider. So this is not in consideration. This is not in consideration. These two are in our consideration. These two are in our consideration. This is not in our consideration. Now these two are in our consideration. This is our consideration. So the uncrossed subarrays that are left are those that we will look at in order to arrive at our answer. We are going to look at all our subarrays whose length is between whose length is between 2 and 3, between A and B. So this is between A and B. Now we have all these subarrays. Now we'll find the average of every subarray one by one. This is 2 plus 3 divided by 2, which is nothing but 1.5. This here is nothing but 6 divided by 3, that is 2. Okay, I'm writing the average. 3 by 2, 6 by 3, then 5 by 2 is 2.5. Now 9 by 3 is nothing but 3. This is the average, 3 here. Now 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 by 2 is 3.5. Now 3, 4, 5. The sum of this is 12 and 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now let's look at this, 4 and 5. The sum is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So over all the subarrays of length between length 2 and length 3, the maximum average we have found out to be 4.5, which we have obtained by taking the elements 4 and 5 and then dividing them to get 4.5 as our answer. So what we did is we enumerated all the subarrays, found the average of those subarrays having length between 2 and 3, which is length between A and B, and then we took the maximum average, which is the answer to this problem. Hope this is clear. So what we are going to do in our approach is we are going to take an approach where we enumerate the subarrays. Basically, that's why I wrote here. In order to write the subarrays, this is what the subarray should be. Let's say that let's take the same example where 5 elements are there. So the indices are between 0 and 4. Okay. So this one, then 1, 3, 1, 4. I'm writing the index notation now. These denote I comma j, where I go from the ith index till the jth index and include the elements in those indices in my subarray. Okay, so these denote, or these are all indices now. These are not values. Now then 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4, and 4, 4. These denote all of my subarrays. In order to write this in code, I will use an n square approach where I have 2 loops. My starting loop I starts from 0 and j starts from I till n minus 1 basically. So what I will do is I will write sum equal to sum plus ARR of j, and then I will initialize my sum to 0. So right now at the starting, my sum will be just ARR of j, which denotes the subarray from 0 to 0. Then as my j increases, my I is constant. So I remains constant and my j increases. Then my I remains constant, my j increases. Then my I remains constant, my j increases. So first iteration where I remains 0, my j basically traverses from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why you ask? Because my j traverses from I till n minus 1. If n equal to 5, n minus 1 is 4. So at the starting, my sum plus equal to ARR of j. So these are the j values, these are the I values. Starting, my sum will just be ARR of 0. Then my sum will be ARR of 0 plus ARR of 1. Then my sum will be ARR of 0 plus ARR of 1 plus ARR of 2. This is the previous sum plus the current element, sort of a sliding window. Now we have 0, 1, 2. Then this will be 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3. And the last thing, I have ARR of 0 sum plus ARR of 1 plus ARR of 2 plus ARR of 3 plus ARR of 4. So basically by doing this, I have the sum of my sub array basically. Here in the starting, I have processed all of these sub-arrays and found their sum individually one by one. Then what happens? My I increments. Now I becomes 1, but j starts from I till n minus 1. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. So in my next iteration of I process all of this. In the next, I'll process this, process this. Each time I have the sum. So basically, in order to find the average, what is the average? Average is nothing but sum of the elements divided by the total number of elements. Now my sum, I have my sum. How to find out the length of the subarray? That's why I told you it's very important. The length of the subarray denoted by I comma j is nothing but j minus I plus 1. Now I have the average also. If I have my sum, if I have my average, I can easily compute the maximum average, and n square, I can write a solution to pass the constraints. Hope this part is clear. Now let's look at a few common mistakes to be avoided. Now the first mistake is, you need to know that if you look at this, I want you to pause the video and correct these 4 things what I've written here. The first mistake is, if my length is greater than or equal to a and my length is greater than or equal to b. This looks pretty like standard, you know, because in our question here also what we did, I need to write that condition here also. Basically, I need to do the maximum check, only for those subarrays that meet our criteria, only for those subarrays whose length is between a and b, so that's what we do not need to do it for every subarray. Just for those subarrays that meet our criteria where length is between a and b, we need to check the maximum average. So that is just one extra check. So let's go back here and see that this looks pretty simple, right? We do the same thing. We have this exact same loop what we have here, exact same loop what we just saw. This is exactly the same, exactly the sum. And this part is exactly the same. First 4 lines are exactly the same. Current length of the subarray from I to j is j minus I plus 1, which we just confirmed also. That is also fine. This is also fine. Now basically here, if you look at the first number 1 that I marked, length greater than or equal to a and length less than or equal to b. We need to find out the maximum, like I just said, only for those subarrays whose length is between a and b. So when you look at this, it seems correct, and it is correct, this condition. But you need to note a very important case, that in the input, we have the input of the form n comma b comma a. So value take input, because I have like a subconscious thing where I just write n a b and I input it. But in this particular problem, you have to read the input very carefully, and the input is of the form n, b and a. So b is given before a. So just remember that. Look at the input and input it in this order. First m, then b, then a. That's why. That was the first thing. Now for the second thing, it is written that we need to have at least 6 decimal places for our answer to be accepted. So remember, if you use C++ or something, it's better to use set precision and fixed in order to give at least 6 decimal places. I mean, I just overshot it and wrote 10 decimal places, but at least 6 decimal places. So don't forget that. Now the third thing what we have here is, if we use C++ or something where type promotion and types and everything are there, it's not dynamically typed language. Here what we do is, I just overkilled it by having double, sum, length, etc. If you just have, instead of this, if you have average equal to, if you have float average or float average equal to, let's say, forget this, okay, right now that I'm showing you the wrong code, so just forget this, and float average equal to sum divided by length. Now this will not give us the correct output, and I want you to tell me why. Because even though on the left side you have float, assignment operator operates from right to left. So it evaluates this expression and then assigns it to average variable. So in this case, because sum is an integer variable, length is an integer variable without decimal, basically. It can be long, int, anything, but without decimal. This does not have a decimal. This does not have a decimal. So on computing this, you will not have any decimal. And average will become a long int or long int variable. It will not have decimal places unless you use the concept of type promotion on typecasting and forcefully cast one of these to a double variable, so that by automatic type promotion, now you'll have decimals here also. Because if your sum equal to 5, let's say, and your length equal to 2, you will think that float average will be 2.5. No, float average will be 2 in this case, because it's right to left. we do 5 by 2, which is integer division, and 2 gets assigned to average. However, if you do typecasting or type promotion, then you get 2.5, which is your assigned, this thing. So take care always of typecasting issues. Now the fourth condition what I've written here is, in this particular problem, look at the constraints, and float will not be enough sometimes to handle all the constraints. So use a 64-bit type. Use a 64-bit type like double here in order to solve this problem. This was the fourth important case. So hope you understood all. Now let us look at the code for the approach that we have just discussed. Here we'll first look at the C++ code. And now after correcting the mistakes what I showed you in the wrong code there, this is the correct code, where first what I noted was you need to input it in this order in the question. You first are given B, then A. So input it in this order. Then we have double variables, just 64-bit type, which will handle everything. So no issues there. It's the biggest, floating point type we can have. Now we have two loops and we have sum here. So as usual, I overshot here by typecasting and by multiplying by 1.11, but you can do any one of these. Just make sure that you have your answer in double. Then for those subarrays that satisfy the condition having their length between A and B, check if your current average is greater than the max average. Update the max average. Finally, have a set precision or fixed and then output the max average. So hope this part is clear. Basically in this problem, over all the subarrays between length A and B, we are finding the maximum average by computing the individual average and having a global, an outside variable max average to show the maximum of those maximum average of those subarrays having the lengths as defined by a criteria. So hope this part is clear. Now let's look at the Python code for the same problem. Now the Python code for the same problem is obviously much shorter. First we import N, B and A. Then what we do is we input our array. Then after inputting our array, so before that, what we do in array is different than NB and A are variables. So we can just use a map function to map all these input which are space separated to int. Now the default separator or delimiter for the split function is space. So this is done. Now in the second line what we do is we do the same thing where we map all the input space separated by spaces into integer, but then we convert the whole thing to a list because we want to access it like a list. Then after that we have a max average variable, because in this particular problem you cannot have negatives in your array. I assign the max average to be an arbitrary negative number because it has to update in the first iteration. Then what I do is I have total equal to 0, and this is the same loop for I in range n is nothing but 0 till n minus 1. Now j in range I comma n means always in Python the first this is inclusive, but the second is exclusive. So if I write I comma n, it means that it will go from I till n minus 1. Then after that we compute the sum for every subarray and average for every subarray, but we update the condition only for those subarrays that satisfy our condition having j minus I plus 1, which is a length greater than A and length less than B. So only in this range, if the subarray has the length, then we check the condition. If average greater than max average, update your max average. Then print the max average at the end. Now it's very important to use the one division. If you use a double division or slash here, it becomes integer division. So don't use that. Use a single division here and then print here. So hope this part is clear. As usual, this code was much simpler in Python because of its inherent big data handling. Hey guys, that was it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you haven't yet done this, this is a gentle reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're interested in competitive programming and data structures, this channel is a one-stop solution for you. See you in the next video. Bye.